are still far too many kill streaks. So much streak spam, and in Resurgence, when the map is that small, like, if anyone pops a counter UAV, you're going to be negatively impacted. If anyone pops a mortar or a precision airstrike, very likely not going to get a notification, and you are very possibly going to be impacted by that. And by that, I mean get downed without a notification. It's really bad and not good. And even if the mortar or precision is not on you, it's going to violently shake your screen no matter where you are. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are absolutely live. We are live on air in the studio. Welcome, boys and girls, to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 384. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by Tanner.
Yeah.
Whose video and audio are no longer buffering. My internet seems to have been fixed.
You got it figured out. Good job.
I did get it figured out, yes. I moved from California to a very small town in a different state. A fairly small town. Don't say
small town. Yeah.
Well, compared to where we lived, Tanner, it's a small town, trust me. And the internet here has been way better than it was in California, but we also get storms now. We have weather, and evidently that can interrupt the internet infrastructure. So the internet went out at the end of our last broadcast. I had to finish it up myself, which is fine. I bear a giant burden and responsibility that I carry with me each and every day, like an Olympian. Call me Atlas, I guess. But anyways, it was fine, and we ended the show. But I don't anticipate we will have those internet issues anymore.
Yeah.
I texted my internet technician, again, something only possible in a small town. And
stop saying small town.
I'm a small town boy. I'm a small town girl.
Your town is big. Your town is bigger than where you moved
Tanner.
from.
You just have to deal with it. I moved and I'm now a small town girl. Okay.
His new small town probably has double the population of our old city.
You think?
I mean, at least. Probably.
You're thinking of the city close to me, not the city I'm in.
I know the city you live in.
I'm in the double R, buddy.
Let's look it up. I know where you are. All right, let's look it up.
I know where you are too,
let's go
but what
to
am I?
Wikipedia,
you know?
104,000.
Okay.
So don't say small town, right?
Well, wait. How many are in?
Let's take a peek.
Let's take a peek at SD. That's a smaller town, probably.
34,000.
Well, we'll edit that out.
Okay.
What about the big G? Papa G. G-Town.
Oh, the one next to us?
Yeah.
I think it's even a little bit less.
I think it's going to be more than
more.
SD.
52.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds about right.
Small. Yeah. So I'm a small town boy. You're a big city guy, huh?
Yeah, I guess I'm a big city guy. It certainly doesn't feel that way. But anyways, yeah, I texted my guy and I was like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And he said, "Oh yeah, well, it's the storm. Sorry about that, but we're working on it." And I was like, "All right, well, it's not your fault, but fix it." And he was like, "Okay, sorry." And then he fixed it. So now the internet should be fine. So anyways, not that any of you cared about any of that. Welcome to the show. Today, what we are talking about is Warzone, kind of. Resurgence, in particular.
Warzone.
In particular. Basically, what we're doing is Resurgence first impressions. Now, obviously, we played Resurgence before today. And even before the integration. But what we're doing here is Resurgence post-integration first impressions, but also Resurgence on the new map, Urzikstan, first impressions. because there are really 3 new Resurgence maps, which we'll get into. Popov Power Plant, Military Base, and Zaravan City. These are 3 new, essentially, separate Resurgence maps. So we're going to do like first impressions of those as well. And that's kind of what's on the agenda for today's episode. Now, before we get into that, we don't really have many announcements. Once again, as a quick reminder, our last Patreon episode was a Warzone brainstorm that is now live and still live, in fact. And yeah, we talked about this last episode, but it went very well and it was very fruitful. I will say this, though, for those of you who have been or who have watched that or listened to that episode, do not try any thermal optics like I brainstormed might be good, because they're not, because the game lies to you. It's not a 2.5x zoom optic like the Eagle's Eye. They're different 2.5s, because the thermal zooms way too much and more than 2.5. It's unusable.
Probably 10 times and says 2.5.
Yeah, the game is just... I wish we could just agree on what magnification a scope has and have them be the same.
Yeah, they've never been able to figure that out, have they?
No one has.
They just can't.
No dev studio can do it. Not even Raven. Not even Ted Tomfoolery Timmons can do it, which is astounding to me.
Ted, our Lord and Savior Timmons, yeah.
Yeah. So, regardless, yeah, and then also the irradiated perk, not good, not noticeable. It's like Resolute. I had it on for like 3 game sessions, and then I was like, wait, am I still running this? It doesn't do enough. It's not worth it. So just don't run it. Don't try it like I talked about in that brainstorm. But luckily for you guys, we talked about a lot of other things in that brainstorm as well. So if you wanted more content, go to the Patreon. For all of our patrons, that's still live. And then next week, we will start cranking out more Patreon EPs. We will probably have most of them out pretty early this month because Tanner needs to go out of city, excuse me, for the holidays.
Yeah, out of the small town. I'm going to a big city, actually, from my small town.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So
yeah,
he's going to be a hot child in the city. And so we're probably going to have a lot of the EPs out by next week, actually. So Patreon.com.
Well, you could just space them too. You don't have to.
I could,
out, man.
I could.
That's what I figured you'd do. Yeah, but yesterday we pre-recorded next Saturday's episode, which is going live on the 23rd. It will be a pre-recorded part 2 of our Interstellar Camo Grind tips. So finishing it up, talking about it, some tips on Forged, Priceless. Went back and talked about some other like gilded challenges, some base challenges. So that's all done. I think that was like 2 hours or so. So will go live on the 23rd.
And yes, and we capped that sucker off by talking about the Camo Grind generally. If we enjoyed it, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. That was actually a lot more fun to record than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That episode.
Yeah, that sucker flew by, because you know what they say. Time flies when you're having fun.
That is what they say.
Words to live by, you know?
Words to live by. Live, laugh, love. Yeah. Those are also words to live by.
Live, laugh, love.
And
yeah, I think we already know what the rest of our Patreon episodes will be, so we're going to try to finish those by next Wednesday. Because Tarkov's going to wipe soon, and COD will be dead again, so I want to get those out of the way.
Yeah. Nicole, come on.
Nicole, what the hell?
It's always funny. It's just always funny. I always
say that
laugh.
to me.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Keep your eyes on the schedule next Monday, though, because our schedule will be maybe weird next week. Maybe not, though. So we'll let you guys. You'll figure it out on Monday. So
okay.
If you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Oh, I should have tried Quick Fix. Damn it.
Doesn't work.
Okay.
I saw another video this morning of somebody running it, and it was a nasty clip, and they were like, quick fix will be nice when it works. Because, yeah, he gets 2 fulls and it still doesn't start regenning. So it is confirmed bugged as hell.
Okay.
Very bugged.
Yeah. I wrote this for myself, so we will talk about the things you've written, but let's actually, I guess I can go here. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, what did you mean? Yeah, I don't know what you meant to.
What I meant by that was this. So yeah, welcome to the show. Today we're doing Resurgence first impressions. Before that, I wanted to give you guys a quick PSA. Ted Tomfoolery Timmons, the God Emperor of Warzone, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, and the best person to ever be in charge of it, made the glorious, beautiful decision yesterday to simply remove Snake Shot TYR pistols from Warzone. So those have been hot fixed. So I'm sure you all saw, if you're on Twitter, a billion obscene clips of those weapons just plaguing Warzone. That is no longer the case, luckily. And now the field is wide open in terms of what's now meta, what's now good after the weapon balancing changes that Tanner and I discussed in our last episode, now that the snake shots are gone, because those were the meta. So quick PSA, I'll just give you guys a quick rundown on what people have been using currently. One of them is the Polemyot LMG with the conversion kit for the faster fire rate, handling, and I think it gives you less recoil as well.
It's gotta be the conversion kit. It has to.
You gotta get converted though.
Yeah,
you gotta get converted.
The conversion kit.
That's correct. Another one that's in the meta is now the Bruin Mark 9 with the 60 round mag, so it reloads very quickly, and it also has pretty good handling with that magazine equipped, and it's still enough ammo. It's 60 rounds. Quite a bit bouncier than the Polemyot, but not uncontrollable. So
it seems to have that visual recoil and screen shake more like MW2 guns, which is why I don't like it personally. Get a lot of little. It's jittery. It's a jittery little guy.
It's a jittery little guy. Yeah, for sure. So that's another one that's in the meta. The MTZ Interceptor evidently is still viable. Some people were talking about this in Discord. I think I saw some people on Twitter as well, that it's still usable, but I think it's pretty balanced now. I don't know. Maybe time will prove me wrong on that, but I think it's viable, worth using, but not overpowered anymore. So that's, I guess, still in the fold. It's also just very annoying to use because it uses sniper ammo, but that's a separate issue. And then for secondaries, it's still basically like WSP Swarm and the Striker, and that's kind of what is in
ISO 9mm is
in
up
terms
there.
Of weapons.
Yeah, ISO 9mm is up there, the MW2 gun, but I've actually yet to like die to it, but I know a lot of people talk about how it has a good theoretical time to kill. I haven't tried it yet, but Striker is still just my go-to.
I'm a Striker main for sure.
There's so much damage per mag with the Striker, which is huge. Very important.
I agree. And it's just so easy to use. It just feels good to use it. It
feels great.
Whatever combination of recoil, visual recoil, fire rate, whatever combo it is, it comes together and feels good to use. It's just a satisfying gun to use. I really like it. One of my favorites. But anyways, and then another gun that is now in the meta is the Ram 7. It has, since its launch, always had very good damage. It was just overshadowed by the Boss B, which had less recoil and more damage than the Ram 7. That is no longer true. It still has less recoil than a Ram 7, but it does not have a faster time to kill anymore. And unlike the Boss B as well, the Ram 7 has great iron sights. Really solid, usable iron sights. So from what I've seen and heard, Ram 7's utility is in being a sniper support gun. So like Symphony this morning was using the Cat with a Ram 7 like sniper support setup as his build. And then this morning when I was playing, me and Jake and Cope were using a loud iron sight Ram 7 primary for Resurgence, which did very well for all of us. It was really good. So those are, I think, the new guns in the meta right now. We might learn about some other ones as well. In fact, I'd be surprised if we didn't. But after the weapon balancing changes, this is for both Resurgence and Big Map, by the way, Urzikstan BR. These are the things that are in the fold. And again, along with the sniper, the Cat AMR.
Yeah. I think Bass B is probably still in that meta too. I think it's still pretty good, but probably better on like Resurgence though. But that gun always just feels like, I said it early on, it reminds me of the Cronin, which I really liked how the Cronin felt before it eventually got nerfed super, super hard. So I like how the Bass B feels and handles and the recoil pattern it has. But you know, ultimately I think there are better guns at long range for sure right now than that. But good like medium range gun. Something like Resurgence.
Yeah. Yeah. I would want to look at the time to kill numbers on that though. Because if I'm using it in Resurgence at that point, I'd rather use a Ram 7, I think. Assuming the Ram 7 kills faster. Because it's...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. You guys can look into that. So yeah, just quick little PSA there. So next, let's get into our first impressions.
They're like the same time to kill, basically. Bass B is like 10 milliseconds faster.
Oh, really?
And then at range,
you know what? Another
it's a lot
thing
better.
too, though, Ram 7 probably has way more damage per mag, and I know it has a faster reload. The Boss B reload is dog poop. It's not good. I hate it. And you have to like jam the cartridge in because it's, I don't know, whatever. Takes
the damage per
entirely
mag is
too
about
long.
the same too. It's not a big difference. RAM is a little bit better, but not much.
With the 60 rounder compared to the 45?
Yeah, it has a way faster fire rate though.
Yeah, that's what I said. So just a couple things to keep in mind there.
They're pretty similar.
Yeah. So I don't know where exactly to put this, so I'm just gonna, I guess we'll just talk about it now. What would we run? What are we running on Resurgence when we play? And maybe knowing what we're running will color our first impression. So I guess it would be good for you guys to know that. What I've been doing, what I did this morning was Ram 7 with a striker secondary, smoke grenades. I think smokes are still just better.
I think so too, even on Resurgence.
Even on Resurgence, yeah. It's nice to just have them. They're not as useful as Urzikstan, obviously, but I still think they're ultimately more valuable than a stim, which is the only other thing I would probably consider running based on my playstyle. If you're super aggro, though, I would probably run stuns, actually, over smokes even. I think that would get you a lot of kills in Resurgence because like no one runs battle hardened because no one runs stuns.
Probably a little slept on right now, honestly.
I
you
think
don't
so.
see them often because people are just used to running smokes from Warzone 2. And then now that stims have that speed boost again, a lot of people want to use that, even though they're really not that great at this point. But yeah, I think stuns are being slept on probably.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If that's your, again, if that's your play style, I don't really ever run stuns because I don't want you shooting at me close. I'm not doing that. I'm on keyboard and mouse and I'm 30, almost 2 years old. So I'm not going to like stun push your building. I would rather mid-range engage you or whatever. Or if I'm forced to, you're pushing me and I'm probably not going to get a stun anyway. But yeah, stuns are probably quite good. But anyway, besides those things, throwing knife is what I've been running for my lethal. Because with the breacher drone nerf, I have not tried them anymore.
They're still good.
I'm sure they're still pretty good. Yeah. And maybe that would ultimately still be better. I just enjoy running throwing knives. They're so fun.
They're so fun, man.
They're great for Resurgence too. They're always going to be better on Resurgence for two reasons, I think. Number one, you're going to be closer to people that you down in Resurgence because it's a smaller map on average. So you'll be able to thirst people more often in Resurgence with them. And then number two, getting a quick thirst is really good for Resurgence because everyone's first life you start with a self-res. So there's a lot more self-resing. It's a lot more important to thirst. Even after you get loadout, plenty of people still have their self-res. So it's more important to thirst, which makes throwing knives more attractive. Also, it lowers the Resurgence timer when you get a full. So being able to get those quick thirsts, or like, I'm running away, I'm playing Resurgence trios, my two teammates who aren't good are dead, and the timer's counting down. And I run into some guy and I down him, but there's like another team chasing me. I don't have time to like mag dump this guy. Quick little throwing knife, blap. Now the timer got reduced by 10 seconds. Tanner's floating back in, and then I'm overrun.
Yeah.
It's good for that reason as well. So I run throwing knives on Resurgence, and I think they are among the best options for sure. Even if you don't push everything or play super aggro, like I was saying, I don't. And then perks, sleight of hand, obviously, to reload faster. Double time, because there's nothing else worth taking. Maybe EOD would be good, but I don't know. I just don't die to explosions very often or get hit by them very often in Warzone, period, irrespective of the map. And then irradiated's not good, and it's also bad, and it's unnoticeable.
For sure,
don't run that. Tempered, obviously. Although Quick Fix would have a very strong argument, especially on Resurgence, where you're going to be picking up a billion plates. That makes Tempered less attractive. So if Quick Fix worked, I would probably run that instead, but it's very buggy and inconsistent right now. And plus, you could find Tempered Vests. And then High Alert as the ultimate perk, so that you can see people. Which, again, I would argue might even be more important in Resurgence than Big Map, because you get third-partied a lot more in Resurgence. So having High Alert to know when that's about to happen is really valuable. So, yeah.
Also, because the range drop off of High Alert, you're going to get those pings, whereas like we've talked about on Urzikstan, if someone's on a roof far away sniping, your High Alert's not going to go off because they're so far away, and it doesn't work at all ranges.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you'll probably always get your High Alert ping on Resurgence. That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah,
so I'm running, double time, sleight of hand. I'm running Tempered. I would 100% be running Quick Fix if it worked, but it is not working right now. You'll get your fulls, and it still won't start regenning yet. You'll start plating up, and it still won't start regenning. So once they fix that, I will for sure be using Quick Fix, specifically on Resurgence, because that works really well with like the throwing knives too. You get that full real quick, you start regenning immediately, you plate up, start regenning. Especially now with like this movement too, being able to get away quicker and slide away, do a little bit more outplay while running away from somebody. I think it makes that a lot better as well. So and then High Alert for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, guns I'm not really sure yet. I was running the Polemiot, and it did feel really good. But I don't know what I would use after that. I'm not really sure, because I don't want to use an LMG in Resurgence, but I was kind of just like trying that and using that because it was right after the MTZ nerf. So that's what I was running, but I think I would try like a Bass B next, and I think I was just still running the Striker as my secondary with smoke grenades, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one way too to kind of tell you that snipers are balanced, nobody snipes in Resurgence. You wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
even like the fastest cat build isn't going to be usable on Resurgence most of the time. So it's not overpowered. It's not broken. You're not getting quick scoped all the time like you did with a Car 98 or something. They're not broken. So
yeah. And that reminds me, by the way, one thing I don't like about Resurgence right now, and I would like Resurgence a lot better once they do this, because I think they do plan on doing it, and it'll probably come with Season 1 Reloaded is they need to add one-shot damage ranges for all the snipers in the game for Warzone, just like they did in Caldera, where the ZRG one-shot at any range and the Kar 98 one-shot, but only up to 20 meters since it handled so fast. Right now, there's literally only one option because explosive ammo snipers, those are all slow anyway, and they don't count. And also they're explosive ammo. That's not what I mean. Like the XRK Stalker, for example, they need to add a one-shot kill damage range value to that gun. So the Cat needs to stay, in my view, all ranges, one-shot capable. The XRK Stalker, the new sniper, that needs to be like, I don't know, 30 meters, maybe 35 without attachments. And then you can increase it to like 50-ish, I guess, if you put on long barrel and other damage range stuff. Extend out that one-shot headshot damage range. And then like even the longbow should be like 15, 20 meter one-shot headshot kill range so that I can go watch FaZe Neo on Twitch and just, well, pleasure myself to his stream. Him like quick-scoping kids in Resurgence with a longbow. Resurgence would be a lot more fun if some of those quick snipers had a one-shot capacity, but only to a limited range like they used to do. And I think they will add that. And once they do, that's going to make Resurgence a lot more fun. Whether or not I snipe myself, by the way, it will make Resurgence more fun. It'll be more fun because I'll have the option to do it myself, number one. But also, it'll make my gunfights more varied. And my engagements have more variety. Oh, well, that guy's sniping. So that means I'm in a lot of danger at like, whatever, 40 meters. But if I can get inside of him, now I'm heavily advantaged because he only has like one gun he can use here. And I can use two because I'm not sniping. And I'm very close to him. So that will make Resurgence a lot better as well. And one of my first impressions is that no snipers ever anywhere is kind of unfortunate. It's a little boring. At least that aspect. The gunfights are all the same. Everyone's using a full auto gun.
Yeah.
But that's not a huge gripe. Resurgence is still fun and worth playing. So let's start by talking about the new maps, which is Urzikstan Resurgence. So the way they've done this now, unlike I think they've ever done it before, they have done big map Resurgence before on like Al Mazrah and Verdansk and Caldera, but they've never trifurcated. I don't know if that's a word. They've never segmented different POIs and just called them Resurgence maps, which, as we've said plenty of times recently, this is a great idea for Resurgence because we've effectively gotten 3 new Resurgence maps. They all happen to be POIs on Urzikstan, but they all play wildly differently from each other and from the other dedicated Resurgence maps like Vondel or Ashika. So we effectively did get 3 new Resurgence maps, which is very cool. They are Popov Power Plant, Military Base, or whatever it's called, and Zaravan City. These are the 3 POIs on Urzikstan around which Urzikstan Resurgence can take place. They rotate between them. Here's a good place to start with our first impressions. Popov Power Plant and Military Base feel very different, but also fairly similar. I think Popov, of the 3 maps, is the most open. That's where there's the most flat ground and empty space and probably the longest sight lines, excluding rooftops, I guess. It's a very open map, but there's enough cover to where you can not just get like, it's not like wasteland or anything. And I really enjoy playing there. I thought, I even talked about this in the beta, I thought it was a solid, fun ground war map, and that translates, I think, very well to Resurgence. I think it's a lot of fun on Resurgence. A lot of mid-range gunfights, I would say. a lot of mid-range gunfights, which is cool. I enjoy that. And there's like really not many buildings on Popov, at least not buildings that people are inside or on top of. There's one very big one, but besides that, it's all kind of like little shacks or just like concrete construction projects or something that you can take cover on. So there are, again, a lot of long range engagements where you're shooting from this construction project to that one that's like 30 meters away or whatever, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it plays pretty well. What are your thoughts on Popov power plant?
Yeah, I don't have much to say about power plant. I just don't like the POI. I don't really know why. I don't like the ground war map at all. I don't like the layout of it. I don't like the type of buildings in general that you fight in, like especially on the far west side of power, where it's like the big industrial buildings that are kind of like blown apart. It's like the big concrete buildings on the edge of the map. None of those are fun to fight in, and a bunch of the circles always end up finishing there, it seems like. Like I've had 2 or 3 finishes in that area. And it's that, I don't know, just so many parts of the map I just don't enjoy fighting at. I'm not really sure. Military has grown on me like in Ground War since the game launched. And this is my favorite area for Resurgence right now. Because, I mean, actually, military probably has more of a, like, longer sight lines and everything. Because military, for the most part, is actually pretty flat. You know, like, there are a lot of little tiny buildings. That's probably what you mean. So, like, little, you know, tents and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I don't know. Military just seems to flow a lot better. I like the different little buildings to fight in, which I want in Resurgence. I don't want there to be like necessarily a ton of open space. That makes for usually pretty uninteresting gunfights when it comes to Resurgence. Yeah. Like even the medium range gunfights you were talking about. I don't know. For Resurgence, I want the close range gunfights. That's like what I'm playing it for. SMG gunfights, essentially finishing people with throwing knives. So I like fightings in the buildings that are on military base. I think that's fun. So.
And those are good buildings too, by the way.
They are. Those are good buildings to fight in.
So yeah, moving on to military, I think this is a great Resurgence map too. This or Popov are definitely my favorites of the 3. I don't know which yet. I haven't played them enough. But military is also very solid. And one thing you'll notice, by the way, about military is that it has a lot of buildings that do not have the Urzikstan classic flat roof with the insane head glitches. A lot of the military buildings actually have the slanted roofs, which is good because people can head glitch you on them, but then they're entirely exposed on the other side of that building. They're not just like, oh, I just go prone and I have cover from everyone that's not on the roof. They can't do that on a slanted rooftop. So a lot of the buildings in military are designed that way, which is not the case for most of the map of Urzikstan. So that makes even rooftop fighting more interesting and less campy on military. But in addition to that, the buildings themselves are really fun to fight in. They are generally either just smaller period than most of Urzikstan, or they are like rectangular. They're wide, but they're like 2 stories. And those are fun with not that many rooms either. Not a bunch of little hidey holes and bathrooms and stuff. Those are really fun to fight in too. Those are really good building layouts for like close range gunfights. Because you can get in a close range gunfight, but it's hard to hide, which means it's hard for you to run in and die to someone corner camping. Unlike many buildings on like Verdansk, for example, where there were a ton of little hidey holes in little tiny rooms. It's not really like that at military. So the military is really fun as well. I really enjoy it also. And the tent fighting is always fun. Gives you heavy Rebirth Island vibes. Where those tents are by our POI. The one they gave to us in our honor. What was it called? Control Center.
Yeah.
Going from Control Center to the apartments, all those tents. It's like exactly the same on military at a portion of the map. And those are really fun too. Because you can break line of sight, but you can't like get behind hard cover. I got a down today on some guy who ran into a tent, sat in the corner and was plating up. And I just started banging him through it and killed him. I couldn't see him. He broke my line of sight, but he didn't get cover. Like that's a fun dynamic that you usually are not going to see in Warzone on any map. Like cloth cover where you break a line of sight, but you don't have any actual protection if they know where you are. That's a fun little dynamic. I enjoy fighting there a lot. And then the last one is Zaravan City, which is like downtown. This is where Trump Tower is. This map sucks and it's not good. This is the worst of all 5. No, it's not. It's the second worst of all 5 playable Resurgence maps in the video game right now. It is beaten only by Ashika Island in terms of bad maps. And that's probably only because of Castle. If Ashika didn't have Castle, I would say Zaravan City is worse. It's not good. It's downtown only. I mean, a ton of very close together buildings that are not wide and rectangular. They are tall and square and very tall also. So your loadout will often drop next to a building. In fact, it'll probably always drop next to a building because you're in Zaravan City. And there will be some team on the roof of the building right next to the loadout crates, because why wouldn't you camp them? So you either get your loadout like right away or you're just not getting one. This happened to us like twice. We won games without being able to hit our loadout. Not fun. Everyone's on a rooftop, and they're the flat, disgusting rooftops where you can't actually get a finish unless you're there with them, because they get downed and then they're just on a perfectly square roof with no danger whatsoever, and they get rezzed. It's very cringe. That is compounded, by the way, by it being Resurgence and everyone having self-res. It's like you can't just down them enough times until they're out of resources. They spawn with self-reses. One of their teammates still has one, even if you get a precision. It's just a disaster. It's not a good map. It's bad also. And it's among the worst for sure. By far the worst of the 3 playable Resurgence maps from Urzikstan.
Yeah, I really have nothing to say. I think the only time I've ever gotten that one in rotation was literally like the minute Warzone dropped and we played it. That was like the first. We played Resurgence first and we played that area, and I liked it, but I remember liking it because of how much better this Warzone felt than Warzone 2.
Right.
I was just immediately like, oh my God, this game feels so much better than Warzone 2. So much smoother. And it was in that area of the map. So it's supposed to be the suburbs, though. It shouldn't have too many of the high rises, right? Do you just mean more like the buildings that are like 3 or 4 stories tall? Because I don't think there are a ton of high rises, are there? Or there are a few.
It depends exactly where the circle is, but there aren't a ton of them. No, it's but there are some of them are in though.
Okay, yeah,
yeah, and then that like embassy building too is in as well. I don't know if that's going to make sense to you. I don't even know if calling it an embassy building is correct.
I know which one you're talking about. I think is that the one where there's a buy station and there's like the water going
Water's
through it,
fairly
kind of
close to it. It's a large, fairly rectangular building. It's not that tall, but it has like the AC vents or AC units on the roof. There's like a bunch of ways up there. Anyway, I don't know. I can't describe it well enough.
That's every roof. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about that PO. I haven't really played it. There are definitely better POIs. Like I feel like Old Town or Low Town. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that area. A lot of little close buildings. That may end up being miserable though, actually. I was
going to say Low Town sounds pretty bad. Yeah, actually. That's too crazy, I think. But maybe
I mean,
not.
It's usually just crazy kind of in BR because that seems to be now where a lot of the sweats are dropping. So when you go there, you're always fighting the best players. So I feel like you kind of have a negative view of it because of that. I feel like the area by itself may not be horrible in a Resurgence mode, but I don't know.
Cargo would be good.
Fun.
Yeah, that
Urzikstan
would be
Cargo is
fun.
the best POI in the map, so that would be fun.
Yeah, that's what I said. So thanks for reiterating what I have already said, Jakin. But yeah, but overall, on the whole, if I have to take 3 or none, I'll take 3. 2 of them are quite fun and good, and one of them is bad. And again, to go back to that sniper point I was making earlier, Zaravan City would be a lot more toxic once they add one-shot ranges for all the other snipers. But I would just use one of them, and then it would be a lot of fun, because it would just be like everyone sniping, including you, on rooftops. I could get into that. That could be kind of cool. Yeah. But maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to try it. Not at all. Yeah. And we'll edit that out. So, by the way, before we move on to our next point, a quick note. For those of you listening, I was educated by our chat. The Boss B is still very good in terms of TTK compared to the Ram 7, even post nerf. So the Boss B still might be a better option as your Resurgence primary, for example, and or sniper support gun on BR. So it is still absolutely in the mix, according to chat. So something to keep in mind there. So, all right. Today's episode is brought to you by our Patreon, where we offer our members all of our episodes early access and ad-free. Starting at just $5 a month at the gold tier, patrons also get a unique Discord role, as well as 3 raw, uncensored Call of Duty bonus episodes every month, in addition to every bonus episode we've ever done in the past. With the Warzone integration and all the crazy changes that have been happening, now is a great time to join the Patreon. Our first bonus episode this month, which is currently live for all of our patrons, was a Warzone brainstorm post-integration. What perks to run, what guns to run, where to drop on the map, what your starting strategy should be when you're dropping in from the plane, especially with all the circles being so standardized. You can really go anywhere. So we went into detail on how you should be starting your match and a lot more in that brainstorm, which is now live. If you wanted even more, you could upgrade to Platinum, which is just $10 a month. You get all of those things and one Q&A episode every single month where only you ask the questions or hear the answers in the form of that episode. For this month, that is also currently live, so you could listen to it right now. And if you wanted even more content, you could upgrade to the Damascus tier at $20 a month, and you get all of the other stuff and an additional behind the scenes episode where we go into the business side, some analytics, some personal stuff, more personal stuff than we are going to share on a public episode, and more, just everything going on behind the scenes. We also do our monthly Damascus only hangouts where we all hop in Discord, play custom games, play poker, play Scriblio, whatever. It's really fun. Do it every month. And you also get an extra special unique Discord role and a new unique Discord channel, the Damascus Lounge, which is by far the most active channel in our Discord. If you hated hearing this ad, sign up for the Patreon. As we said, every single episode our patrons listen to is completely ad-free. Let's get back to the show. Now moving on to the other maps that we've already played, Ashika and Vondel. How do those maps specifically play differently, if at all, post-integration? Post-movement changes, weapon changes, all loadout changes, all that stuff. One thing I'll say, which was the intention of the devs, and I think they nailed it. Now that you get a default pistol in the water, whether or not you have one on your loadout, and now that they let you have overkill without taking the perk, meaning people don't have to take a pistol ever if they don't want to, I have not seen a single otter on Vondel yet, which, to be clear, would not have happened prior to the integration. Because I would see an otter, I'm not kidding, on average every 1.5 games like every other game, I would see at least one otter. And for the
Yeah.
uninitiated, by the way, an otter is a water rat. It is a rat, but in the water, using a fully automatic kitted pistol. And their entire game plan, because they're not good at the game, is to just hold hands in the water like otters do when they fall asleep, and wait for you, a real video game player, to have the misfortune of trying to cross the water, and they just destroy you with a Tech 9 that's full auto, because they use that in their loadout because they're not good enough to kill anyone on land when someone knows they're there. Those are otters. I haven't seen a single one on Vondel since the integration.
Yeah.
Which, again, would never happen prior to all those changes. But giving everyone overkill and giving everyone default pistols really, really clamps down on the number of people kitting out a pistol just to kill people in the water, which makes the map play way better by itself. Because a lot of times on Vondel in particular, your loadout will drop in the water. And when it's an otter meta, that's really annoying and dangerous. And now there are none. At least
it's nice
not yet
having
in
like
my
an even
experience.
playing field underwater. Yeah, with everyone having the starting pistol. That was a great idea for them to implement.
Yeah. So I'm really, really pleased with that.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me on Vondel and Ashika, I guess I should say for some reason I expected them to feel a lot different with this movement, but they really don't. They really just don't. Again, like sprinting and reloading is the biggest change to Warzone for sure, and that's very noticeable in this too. Being able to just, run down the staircase, reloading. Whereas before, if you're on Vondel, for example, you'd get one shot fighting somebody on the roof, you'd immediately start sprinting down the staircase, plating up, and then once you get down the staircase, you're going to stop, you're going to sit in the closet or something downstairs, and then reload. So it's nice to be able to do that all while constantly moving. Now, that's still a huge change. That's noticeable, but nothing else really feels like it made a difference, honestly. So, and then when it comes to like the actual maps, I didn't expect changes, but I kind of hoped we would get like minor changes. Like Ashika wouldn't be foggy, at least it would be sunny. But we just didn't. So, because that map would be instantly so much better, in my opinion, if they just added sun. Like, I know they're not going to get rid of Castle. I know they're not going to change that whole POI. The map would also be a lot better if Castle was a different POI with not that building design.
Yeah.
But just having it sunny, being able to see people a little bit easier, being prettier, I don't think they realize how much of a difference that makes for players playing the map. Like, when the map is bright and sunny and vibrant, not everyone may like put it together, but you enjoy playing that map much more than some map that's ugly and foggy. Trust me. Whether or not you realize that, you do. You definitely do. So, I was hoping they'd do those things. So at this point, honestly, they probably make no other changes to Ashika or Vondel at all. So I think like how they perform and play right now is just how they're going to be going forward. I mean, they actually just took them straight from Warzone 2 and put them in this game. Like, there were revive pistols in Resurgence.
Yeah.
Even though they took them out of the game. Like, nothing's different.
Yeah.
Other than the 2 horizontal zip lines they added at Stadium on Vondel. I haven't found another difference so far. So, didn't expect it, but I was hopeful we would get little changes. So we probably just never will see changes to those maps.
I agree. They are exactly
Especially
the same.
Yeah. Especially with Keep and Rebirth coming, both of those should be here probably within 6 months.
Yeah, they're not. I agree with you. Yeah, they're for sure not going to devote time to changing Vondel or Ashika probably really at all. Another thing that is a holdover from Warzone 2, by the way, and to your point about the fog, Vondel will still have fog some games, and that's when you immediately notice how bad and annoying fog is. You can do side-by-side comparisons on Vondel of a foggy game and an unfoggy game, and you'll immediately notice which one is better and more fun. Yeah, but Ashika is just kind of always that way. It's not as bad as Vondel fog, but it's not as good as Vondel without fog in terms of visibility and atmosphere. So that's another thing as well. And yeah, that was, which we've already talked about a little bit, I think. That was what was most surprising to me about playing Vondel and Ashika fairly recently, is how samey it felt, which I guess isn't that surprising. It's the exact same map with the exact same loot in the exact same spots, the exact same circles, and everything. So of course it's not going to feel that different, but I don't know. I was expecting it to feel more different than it does post integration. Like Tanner said, it is nice to be able to run and reload or whatever, but it actually doesn't seem to change the pace of Vondel at all. I think I play Vondel just as quickly now as I did in Warzone 2, because you're often kind of just going up and down a building rather than into or out of the map, or like some different region or some other building.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So it just like the pacing of Vondel feels the same. I would say Ashika feels a little more different compared to Warzone 2 than Vondel feels different compared to Warzone 2. Because on Ashika, you're rotating a lot more because you have to, because there are fewer buildings.
Yeah.
So Ashika does actually feel more improved than Vondel does. That's not to say that Ashika is now on par with Vondel by virtue of the integration. I would not say that. But I would say Ashika's more enjoyable because of the integration. I feel the effects of the integration actually a lot more on Ashika, is I guess what I'm saying. And that's a good thing because the integration was good. So Ashika did get quite a bit substantially more enjoyable for me. Vondel didn't. But I enjoyed Vondel before. So I would still ultimately rate Vondel, 8 out of 10. And I would rate Ashika and Warzone 2 like a 4. But now I would give it like a 6, actually. So still worse than Vondel.
Moving on up, huh?
But it did move on up more than Vondel did because of the integration. Because again, you have to move a lot on Ashika. You have to rotate a lot. And that's when the integration mechanics are most important. Reload while sprinting, reload while sliding, reload while diving.
That's true. It does feel different when you're actually in gunfights. That's kind of what it comes down to as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just, I don't know. I was hoping we would get small changes, but we didn't. So I don't think we ever will at this point. I don't think they'll waste time doing that.
Yeah. And you know what? If we're going to be getting Fortune's Keep and Rebirth Island back, and in addition, another thing they could do is start adding new Urzikstan POIs to the Resurgence pool, I'm okay with them not changing Ashika or Vondel.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. They are what they are. And if the difference is we either get a new POI on Vondel or we get a new POI as a playable map in the Resurgence pool from Urzikstan, I'm definitely going to prefer the latter, honestly. And I think that actually is the calculus, because they only have so much time, So if they just keep adding new Urzikstan POIs to the rotation pool for Resurgence, I would prefer that to them spending any time editing Ashika or Vondel at this point, frankly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, now a couple of kind of little miscellaneous first impressions or thoughts here. Not too much to say, actually, but I do have a couple of things to say. Tanner, why don't you start us off, though?
I think the worst part about Resurgence right now is the ground loot, because the ground loot is just not good at all right now, and this is very noticeable in Resurgence since you have to actually fight with ground loot. So, big map, Urzikstan, BR, for example, you can land somewhere, do a contract, get money, a lot of times not even fight anyone, buy a loadout, you have your loadout guns. Resurgence is not like that. You're using ground loot for 3 to 5 minutes just about, at least, every single match. Some people just never even grab their loadouts and Resurgence. A lot of people talk about that in our Discord. Like, I'm never even able to get my loadout. I use ground loot the whole time. And that sucks when you're constantly fighting with it. That's not fun, because we just have so many bad ground loot guns right now. Free loadout drop, I've been saying this for a year. It comes way too late in Resurgence. I don't know why we get it as late as we do. It's quick matches. The point is to get an action constantly. Loadout drops should actually be hitting the ground within 90 seconds of everyone touching the ground from the plane. It shouldn't take any longer than that. It's not, I don't know. Cause it's just like, it feels like you're spending a third of the entire match just using crappy ground loot guns that you don't want to use. So, yeah, that's kind of been the most annoying thing for me so far. We need loadout drops to come earlier. I don't think they'll ever change that, but at least we'll get ground loot changes as, the game progresses.
Yes. I agree with you that we should be getting loadouts sooner than we do, for sure. I've always wanted that, and we've always wanted that. Just give me the loadout almost instantly, man. That's why I'm playing Resurgence, to use my guns and get in, gunfights a lot with my stuff. I would love a loadout drop to come sooner. The ground loot does not suck in my opinion at all, though. I feel like the ground loot's actually quite good. Way better than it historically. It's better than the average Warzone ground loot if we just take every ground loot we've ever had, every pool we've ever had. Most of the time when I find ground loot, it's something full auto and it doesn't have an 8x scope on it. And I can't say that for a lot of other times in Warzone history. A lot of them are just no attachments, so you're stuck with a 30 round mag and it's, RAM 7 with 30 rounds and no attachments. That's not great, I'll give you that, but I'm not really finding any terrible guns. Most of the time when I find something, it's usable, with the exception of a number of shotguns as ground loot that are not good. Yes, I don't like those, but I think in general the ground loot's been quite good in my experience. They could have changed it, by the way. I don't know, you haven't played since the patch, so maybe they changed it, or maybe it's different on Urzikstan Resurgence. That's actually possible as well.
Yeah,
but it seemed quite good to me. So, yeah.
I mean, Urzikstan and Ashika and Vondel probably do have totally different ground loot.
Yeah.
Pools,
and
honestly.
I didn't play Ashika or Vondel this morning.
And that's primarily what I've played.
Yeah. So that could explain it for sure. Yeah. But the ground loot for Urzikstan Resurgence I thought was pretty good. But yeah, I would love loadout sooner. Speaking of things you can loot on the ground in Resurgence, though, there are still far too many kill streaks.
Yeah, that didn't change at all from Warzone 2 either. Straight
it
ported
sure
over.
Didn't.
There are
dude,
so many.
So much streak spam, and in Resurgence, when the map is that small, if anyone pops a counter UAV, you're going to be negatively impacted. If anyone pops a mortar or a precision airstrike, you are very, very likely not going to get a notification, and you are very possibly going to be impacted by that. And by that, I mean get downed without a notification. It's really bad and not good. And even if the mortar or precision is not on you, it's going to violently shake your screen no matter where you are. This is a new thing with Warzone integration, by the way. If anyone calls a kill streak literally anywhere on the map, your screen will shake. I will randomly be...
You get a little shake.
I'll randomly be at military base, and the closest team to me with 100 players left will be 2 clicks away. And then suddenly my screen will start shaking. There will be no audio. There will be no sign of anything happening anywhere. But somehow my game knows someone called a mortar down in Lowtown, even though it's 10 kilometers away and my screen starts shaking. Take that out of every mode in Warzone. I don't know why that's a new thing, but I hate that a lot. But anyways, back to Resurgence. Entirely too many kill streaks is just ground loot, and it's really miserable and not good and also bad. And it entirely ruins many gunfights, actually, where you just get third partied by some fucking kid. Shoot! far away who calls a precision randomly on a building 500 meters away that you happen to be in. And it's like, oh, I'm pushing their roof because one's down and the other guy's rezzing. This is a free kill for me. Oh, but I got downed in a building to a precision airstrike. Shout out to Ted Tomfoolery Timmons for that. And it's ruined my game only because someone not even involved in this gunfight happened to find a kill streak. Cringe. I don't think kill streaks should be lootable at all in Resurgence. Hot take alert. They shouldn't exist as ground loot.
Wow.
As lootable at all.
That is a hot take.
You shouldn't be able to find them. They're really dumb. And the Guardian SC, by the way, which is kind of a meme kill streak in BR, is a serious issue in Resurgence, actually, because you're close to everyone. So you'll get Guardianed fairly often. It happened to me. You don't like die to it necessarily. It's just like another suppression mine, basically. But it's quite annoying. Stops your push. Really dumb. Not good. And I don't think this will change, by the way.
I haven't seen one of those on Vondel or Ashika. I wonder if they're even on those maps.
That's a great question.
I'm programmed to ignore them now when I see them like I do on Urzikstan. So maybe I just constantly look at them and my brain just says, no, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Don't pick it up. So I don't think about it. But I've never seen one put down, or I haven't found one yet. So I'm not sure. But yeah, those need to just go because it is just it's honestly just ground loot clutter more than anything. They show up on the mini map. Like they're loud, they're obvious, they show up on the mini map. It serves like no valuable purpose. It's actually just there to make the ground loot more annoying to pick up.
Yeah.
So those need to just be removed from the game, but they won't. They'll leave them in there, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, a lot of streaks still. I would say that a lot of streaks.
It's just so many. Like,
and then
yeah, anyway.
Yeah, the other thing for me, the latest thing, Resurgence was like honestly unplayable until this audio update, the footstep audio update. Now it's actually so much better. It was really, really bad before. I'm not sure how people were playing it because the audio issues are close range footstep audio. When you couldn't hear any of it before, you couldn't even take gunfights. You had no clue somebody was pushing you. It's like just everyone had dead silence. So Resurgence was very bad at the launch of the game, in my opinion, because of that. But yeah, now with this audio update, and audio is actually in a good spot for Warzone, I think, it is so much better. Being able to hear anything or hear everything, played up, reload while you're waiting for the next guy to push, finishing people with the throwing knives. It's a lot of fun taking those gunfights again. So I'm so glad they got that update pushed quickly. And the snake shots got nerfed. I'm very glad that happened.
Yeah, that would have made
Resurgence
completely unplayable.
I didn't play yesterday because of snake shots. I'm like, I'm not launching the game. No shot. No way. I'm just going to get mad. Why would I play? And I was optimistic too. I was like, I think they fixed these today. A lot of people doubted me, but I was right. It's like, there's no way they were going to stay in there for weeks like some people thought.
Yeah, I doubted too. I thought it was going to be Monday we got that change. But Ted Tomfoolery Timmons fooling me again. He's just tomfooling. Speaking of the audio, by the way, I guess we should have mentioned this. Tanner already talked about this in the last episode, but in the recent patch prior to the snake shot nerf, the one preceding that, they said they changed audio, including footstep audio. And I didn't play yesterday either because of the snake shots and because we had business to attend to. Recording an episode for you guys, patreon.com/Dropshot. So today was my first time playing post-patch, post-footstep audio rebalance or whatever. And I have to agree with Tanner. The audio is not perfect, but it's way better than before that patch. And it's even, dare I say, decent. The audio's pretty decent. I heard a lot of people running around in the video game whom I should have heard, which is a pleasant surprise in Warzone. That usually doesn't happen. But I was like, oh, I hear a guy in this building that's right next to me. That's what I would expect to hear in real life, but I wouldn't expect to hear that in Warzone, yet I do. Fantastic. And sure enough, there would be a guy in there. I also, I swear to God, I'm not kidding. I set up my replay buffer. I almost clipped it. I was playing Warzone and I heard someone parachute on me. I almost clipped it. That's how amazed I was. I heard someone parachute on me and then I killed him. And I should have heard him because he was right next to me. But I haven't heard a parachute in Warzone besides my own since a random Caldera patch. So it was like late stage Caldera. That was like the last time I heard a parachute in Warzone of an enemy. And I heard one again today. I almost clipped it. It was beautiful. So that's cool too. I will add, by the way, you still will not hear anyone on a zip line, which you should be able to change it. You also will not hear anyone on a ladder. So if someone's climbing a ladder, you will not hear them. You should be able to change it. And someone did run right up to me and I didn't hear them at all. That did happen to me once today. So the audio is not perfect. It's not fixed completely, but it's in a way better state now than it's been in quite a long time. And that is even more impactful on Resurgence than it is in BR, because you're in a lot more close range gunfights, obviously, or engagements. So that's really good too. Yeah, I'm very pleased to report that.
Yeah, I keep saying that. I think from what I've played, they can not ever touch footstep audio again, and I think it's in a good enough spot for what I expect to be in Warzone. Is it perfect? No. Is it great? No. I would describe it as good. That's about it. There are games with better footstep audio. Maybe not, actually. Most games don't have good footstep audio, but you still miss out on a lot of sound cues in this game. Things like parachutes should still be a lot louder. You hear them now, but they should be a lot louder.
Oh,
some guy's flying in 30 feet above me pulling a parachute. That should be as loud as a gunshot. Make it louder, right? Especially now that everyone, no matter when you come back, you're coming back with guns. A lot of times a better gun than I've found yet. You shouldn't be landing on me and making no audio. That's just BS. So
true. Absolutely true. To be clear, the fact that I heard a parachute is not to say the parachute audio is good now. It's not. It's still far too quiet and probably inconsistent. It needs to be, like Tanner said, literally as loud as a gunshot. It should feel like my home is being invaded in real life. That's what I want a parachute to sound like, because that is incredibly dangerous getting parachuted on in this game. I need an audio cue. Yes. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. A significant one that sounds. Here's a metric that an Activision developer would understand, a frame of reference they would understand. Make the parachute audio as loud as you've made precision airstrikes. That's how loud I want parachutes.
Yeah.
Then they would be loud enough. That's how loud they need to be. So
I hear things fine. I think it's just you're getting old and your ears aren't as good.
Okay.
That's what they say.
That's the average TikToker right there. Yeah. God, I love TikTok comments, man. And they might be right.
Right.
These 15-year-olds, I don't know. Maybe they do hear everything perfectly. Good for you, kid. Get a job.
Yeah.
Go to school.
True.
Go to bed. You have school in the morning.
Yeah.
Get your bus pass.
Okay.
I hate children. I envy I envy their youth. But anyway. Yeah. So next little segment here that Tanner and I would like to talk about. Tanner has a question for the program and for you guys. What do you think happens to Ashika and Vondel once Fortune's Keep and Rebirth Island come out? We already touched on this a little bit, but what else do you have to say on this?
Well, so I was just assuming the whole time by the end of it, because Keep and Rebirth, they don't come at the same time. Keep is, my guess is like Season 2 Reloaded, we get Keep, or Season 2. Season 2 or Season 2 Reloaded. And then Rebirth Season 4 or Season 4 Reloaded, probably. So I've just been assuming the whole time by the end of that, we would have 4 rotating maps. But somebody in like Discord, or there were a couple people in Discord or YouTube chat, I don't remember, were like, oh, I figured like when those maps come out, Vondel and Ashika would just be gone. Like, I don't think they're going to rotate 4 maps. I just completely disagree with that. Am I crazy and stupid, or do you think that's how it'll be too? I think we're gonna have 4 rotating Resurgence maps. Like maybe they won't all be in 1 week, but they'll certainly all rotate. They're not just gonna like remove them like they just got rid of Fortune's Keep entirely, right?
I agree with you completely. I think when Fortune's Keep comes out, they'll probably do for like a couple days, maybe like 48 hours like they did last time. Fortune's Keep only. Like quads, trios, duos, solos.
Yeah.
But like a month after Fortune's Keep has launched, it's not going to be its own playlist always. Yeah. It's for sure going to rotate, and it will be with Ashika and Vondel. And then the same will be the case with Rebirth. When it comes out, it'll be its own playlist, hype, woo, but then it's going to rotate as well. They're not going to get away from the rotation system for sure. And they're not, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to get rid of Ashika and Vondel either. Now, one thing they might do is once we have all 4 in the game, they might rotate which maps are in rotation, if that makes sense. So maybe week 1 of whatever, September, will be like Fortune's Keep and Rebirth rotating. And then week 2, it'll be Ashika and Vondel rotating.
Yeah.
That might be something they do rather than rotating 4 maps in one playlist. That's interesting. But are they going to just permanently vault Ashika and Vondel? Yeah, I agree. Probably not. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ashika can certainly go, especially by the time we get Rebirth. If we have Rebirth and Keep, who's ever choosing to play Ashika over those two?
I would love for them to do it.
There's not a single person in the world that would choose to play Ashika over Keep and or Rebirth. That person does not exist.
That's true.
Because the thing with like Vondel too is Vondel is a way different Resurgence map. It's a different layout. It's a totally different player count. Like that one for sure makes sense to just always be there, and it should always be there. But yeah, I don't think they're going to get rid of Ashika or anything either. At least not until, Treyarch's game comes out. Then that's going to be a different story.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think they all just rotate.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
One thing that's weird is I don't know how I feel about it, but right now I can queue for Ashika / Vondel, which rotates, or I can queue for Popov / military / Zaravan, which rotates.
Yeah.
But I can't queue for a rotation of all 5. There's no playlist where all 5 maps rotate. Do you think they continue doing that, and should they? Because what if I want to play quads and I want to play sometimes on Popov and sometimes on Vondel? So right now, that's not really possible. It's kind of weird.
I think Urzikstan Resurgence will kind of just be phased out. I think there are only so many playlists right now because it's the new big map. I think by like next month, Urzikstan Resurgence will just be in the playlist every week as like one player count. So like it'll be like duos, Urzikstan Resurgence 1 week, and then that's it. And then solos, trios, and quads would be Ashika and Vondel. They're just pushing it a lot because it's a new map.
They're probably also collecting data. So I think what they end up doing will depend on player counts, which they'll have access to by then. So if like Urzikstan Resurgence is super popular, then they probably won't do what you said. But if it's less popular than Ashika and Vondel, they probably will do what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to depend on what's popular, which I guess makes sense. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. So, yeah. How different do you think, here's another question. How different do you think Resurgence will play once Quick Fix works? Do you think that will be a massive difference? The reason I asked that might sound like a goofy question, but here's the thing. When they changed the health regen in Warzone 2 from a 5-second delay before you start regenning by default to a 7-second one, Tanner and I started running Quick Fix, and it was a massive difference to when we were not running Quick Fix before then. It felt like a almost different game playing on Vondel with Quick Fix, particularly after that change they had made, which still stands as far as I can tell. Actually, it for sure does, because I remember reading those patch notes about the medic vest. So once Quick Fix works, will it feel as impactful as when we swapped to it when they made that patch that I'm talking about?
I think pretty close, because once we started using Quick Fix, I never got off of it in Warzone 2. I continued to run it. So I don't like not having it specifically for Resurgence. I think that's like a must-have perk, especially if you're an aggressive player, always fighting close ranges, which is how Resurgence is for me. So I think that will make a huge difference, because it does suck having it and it just doesn't work correctly.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they've like acknowledged that it's not working correctly. I don't know how many people know it's not working correctly.
That's a good question.
Tempered. So hopefully that gets fixed here. Well, it certainly won't for a few weeks now, but yeah, I think that'll be pretty
Reloaded
important.
Would be
Probably
good.
Season 1 Reloaded, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be very important, yeah.
I think that's going to be super noticeable.
It totally changes all of the close range gunfights when you're fighting multiple people at once. It'll keep you alive constantly.
Yeah. And by extension, it'll massively change your playstyle because you are able to push things way sooner, obviously. I think that will change a lot. Yeah. I think that'll make it even more fun. At least having the option, Yeah, that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that. But yeah. So, I mean, overall, if I had to sum up my first impressions of Resurgence, the game mode, after the integration, overall, I would say I'm surprised at how similar it feels to before the integration, which is curious. However, I do think that is largely because of the maps. Because like I said, on Ashika, I do notice actually the integration a lot more than I do on Vondel. So, yeah. But, I don't know. And then as far as like the weapons and stuff go, Resurgence weapons in general and what's like meta for Resurgence gunfights feels exactly the same as Warzone 2. I think that's another reason it feels so samey. BR feels a lot different because it's a new map, but also because you can snipe and other people are sniping, but no one was sniping in Warzone 2. So it's like, oh, there's a whole new like type of gun in play. That's not the case on Resurgence right now. We went from no one sniping to still no one sniping because the cat is just too slow to use in Resurgence. So I think once they add other one-shot snipers to Resurgence, that's going to make it feel a lot more different than anything, frankly, compared to Warzone 2. I think not getting snipers, unlike we did in BR, is what is part of the reason why it feels so samey post-integration. So that'll be cool. But setting aside snipers, the gun fights and the gun balance and the time to kill all feels like exactly the same as Warzone 2 also. Yeah, we're using different guns, but like my loud Boss B felt exactly the same as when I was using a loud Cronin Squall on Ashika. Like, it feels exactly the same. The time to kill feels the same. The time to die feels the same. And then the same with the close range meta. It's like that also feels exactly the same as well. I think that's another reason it feels so samey, is because the guns feel the same, even though they're technically different guns. Which I guess is fine, but something to keep in mind. Yeah,
it's true. But I mean, it feels good. I guess just not as different as I thought it would feel.
Yeah.
Because like Vondel 2, when it comes to like, so many gunfights are like you're coming up a staircase or going down a staircase. So it's like the only thing really benefiting you at any point there are commando gloves. It's like tac pads. I'm not sliding and ADSing when in any of those gunfights, and half of the gunfights on Vondel. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of these things you just don't use as much, but they are definitely more noticeable on Ashika in general.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Which isn't to say that Resurgence is bad, because Resurgence was the most fun thing in Warzone 2. So even if it does feel fairly similar, that's not a bad thing. It's still quite fun. But what's more fun, in my view right now, is Big Map BR. It's got more variety, snipers, it's a new map, so there's that novelty aspect. And with all the changes, Big Map is actually fun again, which it wasn't in Warzone 2. So that's it.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week. You can follow us on Twitter at the Dropshot Pod to see our schedule that we will post every Monday. We will do that again, obviously, next Monday. Patreon.com/thedropshot, best way to support the show. Make sure you give us Christmas presents, by the way, and we will see you next time. Go to thedropshot.com, press the donate button for Christmas. Thanks. Stay humble.
Stay humble.